Welcome to the Matt Report, the #1 WordPress business podcast. This isn't geek speak. It's about the journey of success and failure as a WordPress entrepreneur. Get ready. You're just an episode away from your next aha experience or big idea. And now your host, Matt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Matt Report. This is a different kind of episode. I'm sitting down with a good buddy of mine, Brian Casel. He's my first repeat customer to the Matt Report. I've interviewed him in the past, and this time I'm having more of a sort of informal discussion about his recent endeavor in launching his own self-published ebook, Designed for Conversions, and we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about what it was like to sort of plan for doing a book, marketing this book, some of the pitfalls, some of the successes, pricing and adding value and stuff like that. I'm also going to put him on the hot seat, give me a few pointers looking at the mattreport.com, because I'll be soon, hopefully, launching Matt Report Pro, which you'll get more information about. You know, I've been asking about it for a few episodes now on monetizing the site and some of your ideas. I'm going to put some of those into action. So I'm going to ask Brian, how does he think I can convert folks coming to the site, and how to get the proper call to actions down and ready to go. You'll learn the same thing. So I'm excited for this episode. If you stick around to the end, he's going to have a special way for you to save 20% off of any one of his packages for the book, for the consulting, and for the added bonus stuff. So do stick around for that. As always, mattreport.com/subscribe. Join the mailing list where you'll be in tune with everything that we have going on here. And if you're just finding me on iTunes, I have a website. It's just Matt Report, right? mattreport.com. Check that out. Not only do the interviews and podcasts go up there, but I also do some blogging stuff. Recently wrote about SEO slides, a new contender to sort of slideshare.net or Google presentation. This is a plugin that's being produced by 10up and a conjunction of other folks that are working on it. And it was a good write-up, good interview. It's actually my first written email interview with Jake Goldman, founder of 10up. So do check the site out for that and enjoy it. And without further ado, here's my chat with Brian Casel. Hey everybody, welcome back. Another amazing episode of the Matt Report. This is actually a special episode. This is my first repeat customer, Brian Casel. Brian, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Matt. Good to be back.
So a lot has happened over the course of over a year now since we've chatted, and if you want to go back and listen to Brian's episode, we'll link that up in the show notes. We're not going to dive into the who Brian is and what he's done all of his life. We've got plenty of that stuff in the first episode, but Brian, founder of Restaurant Engine, and now freshly minted Designed for Conversions book. And he's going to join us today to kind of talk about that and what that journey was like to launch this book. But how's things going with Restaurant Engine? Got an update for us on that end?
Let's see. So, I mean, nothing too exciting. I mean, it's still going strong. You know, been running Restaurant Engine for, let's see, I guess it's almost 2 years now, I think, yep. Since it was actually launched. Mm-hmm. Going great. You know, the team is starting to grow. Customer support is kind of always having those like scaling up issues, but nothing unmanageable at this point. That's been going really great. That's kind of the bulk of how I spend my days these days, is running Restaurant Engine. The past year has just been kind of crazy, just getting involved in so many different things and then trying to trim things down and stay focused. Kind of a roller coaster year in that sense, but Restaurant Engine has been going great. I think one big focus for me, aside from doing the book this year, has been kind of a renewed focus on my blog and my newsletter. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been blogging for like almost 5 years or over 5 years, but I haven't really started a newsletter until this year, which is way too late, but I guess better late than never. So
yeah,
that's been kind of a new focus.
Yeah. If anything, if you take anything away from this episode, folks, it's start your newsletter right away. Start growing that list now.
I think it's one of those things that, like, I think if you do blog, then you should have a newsletter. I think that a blog and an email newsletter kind of go hand in hand, and not enough people make that connection. So many people just kind of blog and hope that their posts gain traction, but really what you want to do is grow an audience and build up that relationship over time.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. One of the new things, not new, but newer things for you, or re-entry into, is back to consulting, which I'm assuming sort of led you down the path to say, you know what, it's time to write an ebook, time to put my thoughts into something more, concrete, more professional. What made you make that step back into the consulting ring?
Well, actually, I started work on the book a few months before I got back into consulting. So I did take about a year off from consulting. I had been doing freelance and web design consulting for 4 or 5 years, and then I stopped to focus solely on Restaurant Engine and a few other projects. Later this year, so about 2 months ago or so, I kind of returned to consulting a little bit for a few reasons. One is I had been working on products for that has been my focus for the last year or two. So I wanted to kind of take all the things that I've been learning and apply that stuff for clients. So kind of changing the way that changing kind of what my consulting services looked like. Before it was just kind of run-of-the-mill design and development services. Now it's more, I'll work with you on your product, your message, marketing strategy, and then that might lead into a design project. But really, it's much more focused on the strategy up front. So it's just that really just makes consulting way more enjoyable for me. When I kind of look at it that way. Yeah. Another reason is. There's no getting around it. The cash flow benefits of consulting versus building a SaaS business. I mean, the SaaS model is great and it is very powerful over time, but it doesn't give you that cash infusion that you need. And so what I'm kind of looking at right now is really growing the company beyond just me. I mean, I have a few people now, but really just kind of to get that growth. It does require some kind of capital, and I've always preferred, just investing with using my own funds and using customer and client revenue rather than seeking investment and things like that. I'm very much the bootstrapped mentality. So I try to. So I'm kind of looking at the consulting thing as a way of kind of funding the growth of the company moving for the foreseeable future.
Right. And then the undertaking of writing a book during all of this.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
I do remember you setting up your milestones. I don't remember them word for word, but I remember you, saying something like, I have to write 2,000 words today, or, 3,000 words in the book today. I remember seeing those tweets kind of fly by. How important was it to have those deadlines and those goals set up, and how difficult was it as well?
Yeah, I mean the deadlines were huge. So initially, when I first kind of made the decision, I'm going to write a book. I mean, it's something that I'd wanted to do for a long time. I'd been thinking about doing it someday, and then this year I was like, okay, we might as well do it now. I kind of had something that I really felt passionate about writing. This idea of design for conversions, which was basically kind of connecting the dots between learning design techniques, but also learning marketing, because that's kind of what I've been focused on for the last few years is learning both of those things simultaneously. There's a ton of content out there to learn about marketing, and marketing tactics and strategies and all that stuff. And of course, there's a ton of design education and tutorials out there, but there isn't too much that really kind of bridges the gap. How does this marketing strategy translate to the screen and translate to the way you roll out a product, specifically like a marketing website for a new product? So that's kind of something that I felt was missing. So that was kind of the idea to get the book going. Sorry, that was a bit of a ramble. So back to the question. So setting deadlines. I mean, I think I started work on the book, I think it was like June or July of this year. and my original plan was to set a 6-month deadline, because I thought, writing a book is huge. It's going to take me 6 months to do this. And actually pretty quickly into it, like 2 or 3 weeks into it, I was making a lot of progress really quickly. And I was just kind of mapping out the year ahead, and I decided to cut that 6-month deadline down to 3 months, and just really kind of, light a fire up under my ass and get this thing done within 3 months. And it worked. I mean, I had that deadline in mind, and then I just mapped out between point A, today, and point B, 3 months from now, what needs to get done. And then I broke it down into month by month. These are the things that I need to hit every month, and then week by week. So every week, I knew that I needed to write this many words. I knew I needed to. It's not just writing. You have to put the outline together, writing the chapters, designing the landing page, redesigning the landing page, getting it ready to launch, writing a ton of articles. I did a lot of guest article writing. I prepared a number of video interviews that are kind of packaged with some of the higher plans, and some templates and things. So there was just a lot of preparation that went into it. So I actually just mapped out all this stuff early on in the process. And then as every week went by, it was like, all right, well, I already know what I need to do. Now it's just time to execute. So I didn't have to spend too much time debating okay, what am I going to work on today? What's going to be on the to-do list this week? It's just what's next in the list? Just go through it.
It sounds like you put a lot of groundwork into the planning stages. So what was that? How much time did you spend on that? I mean, can you even gauge that, or was it more of a working plan as you went along? You said, okay, because you really drilled it down from the day to the weeks to the months. Did you just sit down and do it all in one fell swoop, or did you kind of just grow it as you went?
I did. I guess I kind of spent an afternoon really writing it all down in my notebook, and then I wrote a blog post about it. So that's kind of like a day's effort, but it's a bunch of ideas that had been floating around for weeks before that.
Yeah.
And then once I had it all written down and fully planned out, the first few weeks of that, I would literally cross out each item as I get through it. And then kind of halfway through the process, a month or two into it, it wasn't that rigid. I mean, I knew what needed to get done, and I was just kind of heads down writing most of the time. And I didn't necessarily follow the list exactly, but things got done, on time. So.
Right. And I say it that way because I think a lot of sort of the entrepreneurs, the people who are listening to this show, are just like, you know what? I'm going to write a book. I'm just going to go right at it. I'm just going to start typing without any kind of plan, and then they kind of burn themselves out because they either sit down and just go nuts for one full day, and then they just can't do it anymore. So that plan kept you grounded, or at least it seems.
Yeah, definitely. Having the plan was huge. It is really, when you're embarking on one of these huge projects that is for me, writing a book like this was definitely a much larger writing project than I had ever done in my life. So I was kind of, going into it, I was a little, intimidated, but yeah, having that plan in place is huge, because like you said, if you just kind of start writing and you don't really have goals and a hit list of things that need to get done, and an idea, a topic that really kind of resonates and makes sense, it's easy to kind of lose steam after a while.
Right.
So I think that is really important.
Right. The title of the book, Design for Conversions, first title, 17th title, how many times did you go through it?
I think it might have been like the first idea or one of the, I didn't really spend a ton of time, debating different titles, for this one. I think that one just kind of made sense as soon as I thought about it. I'm not sure exactly when I came up with the title, but it was pretty early on in the process.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic title, actually. It's always interesting to wonder, I can't even begin to throw out any of the titles that I would come up with if I were writing a book, but I know I would sit there forever just pondering that for hours, if not days and months and weeks, to get it right, because that's just the way I am. So you launched the book, fast forward everything. You write the book, you launched the book a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think it's about 2 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks ago.
From today.
What did you do planning to market the actual book? You mentioned some things about guest blogging and stuff like that. Any tips for folks who are looking to do this themselves that they should kind of get their house in order?
Yeah, sure. And the thing to keep in mind so I'll go into what I did, and I've been blogging about all this. Guest blogging was a big part of it. But the really important tip that I want to convey here is the marketing plan and the pre-launch marketing plan, that all went into the to-do list as well. So the to-do list was not just write the book. It's easy to write a book and just save it on your computer, put it on a shelf somewhere. But the goal is to obviously build the audience and get. I want people to read the book. So early on, I knew that. So part of the goal here was to grow my email newsletter list, and that's kind of what made it challenging going from 6 months to 3 months, because that meant I have three less months to grow that email newsletter. And I had just kind of started building it, this year around the time that I started writing the book. So I was basically starting from scratch with that list. A big part of the plan was to make sure that I'm posting weekly on my own blog, make sure that I'm writing articles to submit to other blogs. I think I wrote a total of about between 6 and 10 guest articles on other blogs over like a 2-month span, nice. Leading up to the launch. And that helped quite a bit. I mean, these are relationships that I've had over a number of years. I've been guest blogging for a lot of these sites. So that definitely helped. Let's see, marketing. I kind of just kept repeating, talking about it all the time.
Yep.
Honestly, that made me feel a little bit uncomfortable, just really promoting it heavily all the time. I hate being overly promotional, but I have my own podcast and my blog, and I am mentioning it there. But I try to make what I'm talking about valuable in some way. It's not just mentioning the book. I'm trying to teach something. So I'd write an article about. I wrote a post on my blog about. I think I wrote one called "The Marketing Strategy for My Upcoming Book." So I'm just going through the things that I'm doing, trying to educate, while at the same time mentioning the book.
Yeah. It's funny. I know it's a tightrope that we walk online and marketing and stuff like that. And I don't have a problem with folks, either not constantly talking about it, but if it's a consistent, is probably a better word, consistently mentioning or talking about it, because the whole while you're doing this, you're just saying like, just finished another chapter in my book, or just got a great idea for this section of the book, or slimming down on some of the content so that's not such a long read or whatever. It's like sort of like an inside look to what's going on behind the scenes with what you're doing, and it's not just like working on my book. Hope you pre-order it, or
yeah, absolutely.
It's not so heavy or just overwhelming. So I don't mind that, and I think it's a good thing. It's a thing that people can take away is, it's okay to promote yourself that way, I guess, right? Constantly reminding folks what you're working on because you're proud of it, number one, and it is an attention economy. So if folks aren't paying attention, it's going to be difficult to kind of scoop them up later.
Yeah, and I think the key here is also just to always educate or just provide some value in some way. I mean, in this case, the book is intended to educate on a particular topic. So all of my articles, all of my posts leading up to it, or most of them were around the same topics from the book. I mean, I would even take excerpts of certain chapters and then turn them into blog posts. Some of them were kind of standalone posts, and then some of them were like taken out of the book. And then the same thing with the guest articles. They're all on the same. I mean, I wrote those as like unique articles, but they're all around the same topics,
right?
As those found in Design for Conversions. So
nice. So you send out the big email, get everybody excited, get everybody going. You get 3 different tiers that people can purchase, not just the book, but a book with some videos, and then a premium package, I guess, for lack of a better word, where you actually spend some time chatting with folks who purchase the book and watch the videos and give them some feedback. How was that? How did you figure all that stuff out, and how are sales going?
Yeah, I mean, I am really excited about the extras, like the extra resources that I'm packaging with it. So there are 7 videos, and these are seven case study interviews that I do with other designers.
Nice.
I invited other designers on to basically walk me through one marketing website that they designed, and we did about a 30 or 40 minute interview with each person, just kind of digging into a single site that they did, their strategy, their thought process behind it. They would share their screen and kind of show like early mock-ups of their sites and things like that. So that was really helpful, and that really did like kind of bridge the gap between some of the ideas in the book and then seeing those ideas in action. It was really cool to see. And then the other thing that I'm really excited about in the top plan is I am offering private recorded video sessions, basically video reviews of your site. So if you're working on launching a marketing site for your product, maybe you've just launched it, or you're planning a redesign, or you've just redesigned it, I can spend 30 or 45 minutes with you, kind of going through your site, giving you feedback, asking questions of you, and then we can record this over Skype, and you can keep the recording, refer back to it later, share it with your team, that sort of thing. So I just enjoy that kind of stuff anyway. So I'm excited about it.
Nice. What's your most popular channel? Are you just doing the direct sales like through your own site and through your newsletter, or do you have it affiliate posted somewhere else? Is there one that's performing better than another?
So there is no affiliate program for it at this point. I just haven't had time to really look into ways of setting that up.
Not in Barnes and Nobles or anything. Not yet.
No, I mean it is totally self-published. Yep. Available on my site. So let's see. So in terms of the packages, so I think was it Nathan Barry or someone? I think he did. He posted an article a while back, comparing his approach to selling books and packages versus Sasha Grief, another designer, author, and just kind of comparing the revenue models when you do introduce multiple tiers. And it is more effective to have the 3 packages. I mean, that's not really the reason why I chose that way. I really just wanted to add a lot more value in that middle and upper tier. But yeah, I mean, having the additional packages in addition to the book itself, I've definitely seen that from sales. People really are interested in getting those extras and getting the complete package. So
nice, and just that whole value add. And it just makes it feel like, hey, it's just not a one-off, because ebooks and web marketing for at least the last 2 years, right? It's like what everyone said is, you put up a landing page, put up your ebook, put up a white paper, and get somebody to sign up, buy it, download it, off you go. It's so easy. You too can be a millionaire. And even if people didn't buy the medium and high-end package of your book, at least it kind of validates that you're doing more than just the typical ebook, right? And hopefully in their eyes, they say, well, look, I really can't afford the high end, but hey, if I know he's putting all this other extra effort in it and he's willing to sit down and record a session with me for a half hour, then the material is probably good. And, I might as well just buy the book anyway, right? Or at least that's what we all hope.
Yeah, I mean, it has been good. And, I also let people upgrade from one plan to the other if they want to, do that at a later time. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Looking back through your process of outlining and gathering your thoughts and putting a roadmap together to launching to promoting, if you could do it all over again, what would you do different?
That is a great question. There are definitely some things. I mean, I actually do plan to write another book.
Wow, that was fast.
Yeah, I know. I'm already thinking. I already have actually a topic and things that I'm thinking about. But I mean, it's not going to happen soon. I definitely writing. I definitely need to kind of take a break from writing for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there are things. I mean, so one thing is this is a design book. So there are lots of images. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just have to illustrate. I mean, every chapter I think has something like between 5 and over 10 images per chapter. So probably over 50 or 60 images throughout the book. Just preparing those images, inserting them into the book, formatting them in the right way. That really took a lot of extra time and effort. That could have cut down the production process. Not that I mean, they do add value to the book. So if I were writing another book on, something design or something visual, then absolutely I would still, need to include those images. But I think the next time around, or at least the topic that I'm thinking of for the next book, it's going to be a little bit heavier on text and less images. Yeah, I mean, let's see. I think this is not like a regret or anything, but just now I have such a stronger focus on my newsletter. Mm-hmm. So the blog is one thing, but the newsletter is really where I put most of my effort. I only send the best stuff and just personal notes and things to my newsletter. I'm really putting my effort there because I can really see over the long term how having a larger audience, a larger subscriber base will just make these launches much easier. Having that kind of launch pad in the future. So I would have liked to have more time to build up that list before I launched, but yeah, I mean that's kind of the big thing moving forward.
So I want to just challenge that real quick because I hear a lot of folks say that I want to send my best stuff to the newsletter, but why is that? Is it because of the folks that are on there are more in tune to listening to it because you know that they're not really going to share their newsletter, right? How many people actually hit that share button in MailChimp or wherever it might be to share that article to get your exposure? Or is it that you're just saying, look, they took the time to sign up to this and I just want to send my best stuff there? Why not send your best stuff to your blog?
Well, I mean, I should kind of clarify something. I mean, some people use their newsletter to send a lot of exclusive content that blog readers don't see. I do that once in a while, but for the most part, the blog articles. So the newsletter will receive articles or receive a link to an article that I've posted to the blog. Mm-hmm. But when I say that the newsletter gets my best stuff, I don't. So I post quite a bit to the blog, but I don't send every post to the newsletter.
Gotcha.
I only send, the stuff that I think is really valuable, the very best posts. So, for instance, my podcast, I think it's up to something like 15 episodes. I think I've only actually mentioned 5 of those episodes to the list.
Gotcha.
The articles, I try to post something once a week or so, but I just try to make sure that I mean, really, the goal here is just to make sure that if you subscribe to the list, I want to make sure that you're getting the most value out of it as possible. Mm. And I don't ever want you to think that what I'm sending you is fluff or you've heard it before or what you're getting from me. And if you're receiving an email from me, I want you to expect that there's going to be something interesting, something that can actually help you in your work today or tomorrow. Something thought-provoking, it's not just fluff. So that's really what I'm hoping for.
Nice, yeah. I asked that. Well, let me ask you this question: what do you do? Because I know how I react. But you send out that you say I wrote a great email. This is going to be everyone's going to love this. They're going to reply to me. They're going to sign up, buy the book, or just hit reply and chat me up. And then you get a rash of unsubscribes. How do you deal with that? I'll let you answer that, and then I'll say how I deal with it.
Unsubscribes happen. It's kind of a fact of life when, in the world of email newsletters and marketing and things. Every time I send, almost every time I send, there'll be a couple of unsubscribes usually. I don't really let it bother me too much. I think if I don't want you to be on my list if you're not getting value out of it. I try to just I try to be as authentic and try to provide as much value. Again, I hate to keep repeating that, but if I think some people might have signed up for the list just to get the free chapter of the book, or they signed up for whatever reason, but if you need to unsubscribe. I wouldn't want you to stay.
Yeah, I know that. So I think I'm the only, and I don't even think it. I know it. The only WordPress business podcast on the face of the planet Earth, and I'll send out an email like Brian Clark of Copy Blogger, right? Probably like one of the largest WordPress shops there is, and then I'll get like 5 unsubscribes. I'm like, wait, you signed up for a WordPress business podcast? Like, this guy is the epitome of WordPress and business. Why?
Yeah, but it could be like they just don't want your content in that channel.
Yeah.
Maybe they prefer just following you on Twitter and coming to your blog once in a while, but they're just cutting down on the amount of email that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. That's true. Thanks for making me feel better, Brian. So look, we're going to put you on the hot seat for a little bit. We're going to talk about the book, and what folks don't know is I'm going to be launching a Matt Report Pro pretty soon, where folks will be able to sign up, get exclusive access to some of the Matt Report content, and more importantly, the backlog of all the podcasts, the 50 plus that I've done over the last year plus. So if I were to read through your book, what would you recommend I change for a call to action on, say, thematreport.com? What would your first initial response be to get somebody to say, you know what, this is what this place is all about, and here's where you sign up?
Sure. So let's see. So I guess two big things I can talk about here. One, again, sorry to kind of harp on the same idea, but it's all about value. This is the first chapter in the book. Any product, any business, it's all about your value proposition. Mm-hmm. So in your case, for Matt Report, you've got over 50 episodes, allowing customers to gain access to that. That is something of value. And it's also about knowing your customers. Like you said, WordPress business folks, people who are interested in interviews like these, talking to other startup and business owners in the WordPress space. Things that just knowing the things that they care about, whether it's like knowing how to move their business forward, or to see or hear the stories and case studies of other entrepreneurs, giving that stuff. That's the value that you're providing, right? So really just kind of focusing, just laser focused on that value, on that benefit of what you get when you subscribe to Matt Report Pro. I think the other thing that you mentioned is that there's going to be some kind of forum, like a members only.
Yeah, so there's a few things I'm kicking around. One would be a forum where folks could actually exclusively talk about the show in the forum, and maybe either post questions that my guests might have access to, or hey, if somebody had a question for you, I might track you down and say, hey, Brian, I get this question on the forum. They'd love to know the answer, and then share that answer there. And do something to that effect.
Yeah, totally. I think that right there in itself is very valuable. It's kind of a gated community of like-minded entrepreneurs, and since it is premium and they're paying, like it kind of filters out a lot of the noise. So that's really important. So these are just kind of benefits that you can focus on, whether you're talking about it on the show or in your copy on the site. So you asked about the call to action. A few just general tips on call to actions. I mean, one is if that's going to be it, upgrade to Matt Report Pro. That should really be like the one thing that you're talking about or that you're promoting throughout your site. That's the one call to action. You don't want to dilute everything by having like 3 or 4 different call to actions. Like, you want to have the links to follow you on Twitter and get the RSS feeds and things like that. But those are really secondary. I mean, the thing that you're promoting, the one action that you want people to take is watch or listen to an episode and then subscribe to Pro or upgrade to Pro or something. So that would be one, just kind of focus on one CTA. Another one is to just be really explicit about using the words in your call to action. So whether it's copy on the site or the way you talk about it on the show, the explicit action that they're going to take. Click here to upgrade to Pro, or sign up here to become a member. Just be very descriptive. Be very explicit about what is the action that you want them to take. A lot of websites, you'd be really surprised. I mean, you wouldn't. You run a web design shop, so. But a lot of companies, a lot of businesses just kind of assume that their customers or that their visitors know where to go next. That may not always be so obvious. It's probably obvious to you as the business owner, but not to say that visitors in general are dumb or anything like that. But it's just when you see your site every day, for a first-time visitor, you just need to make it painfully obvious where that next step is and how they can get there, and what are the exact steps you want them to take. And then the last thing is just set their expectations. You're going to receive 1-year access for this price, and this is what's included. You can cancel any time, so 30-day money back guarantee, whatever it is. You want to really just be completely clear so that there are just no surprises.
Right.
And that it's not about avoiding returns or things like that. It's just people just feel more comfortable when they know exactly what they're getting into.
Right.
So,
right. And you don't want to go through, 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now after the person signs up to saying like, oh, gee, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. You tricked me or whatever. This wasn't the content. Look, just then I gave the examples as best I could on the landing page. You bought into it. You have 30 days to return it or get your money back. And that way there's no hard feelings moving forward because you want to continue to work with these folks. Or at least I know I do, moving forward. So honesty and having it up there. And yeah, it's not about just a return policy, like you said.
Yeah, totally. And the other thing here is whenever you're asking someone to purchase a product, or even when you're just asking for an email address to subscribe, whether you're asking for money or you're asking for their email or something, there's always some kind of natural friction there. So everybody is always on guard. I am, you are, everyone is. To pull out the credit card or to enter my email address in some website, there's some kind of friction there. Like, do I trust this site? Do I trust this person, this company? Is my information safe? Am I going to be ripped off here? So there's always that's always built in. Right. You can't avoid it. So when you're designing your call to actions and designing your site, designing your product, you want to just reduce that friction any way you can. So just reinforcing the positive aspects of the transaction, reinforcing that cancel any time or we never spam you. We hate spam just as much as you do. Just things like that. And then again, just kind of setting expectations, being totally upfront about what's involved, what's included. It just kind of makes the customer more comfortable and makes them feel better about moving forward, converting, and becoming a paying member.
Yeah. And let me ask you this one last question on the same topic. If somebody's listening to this and they say, well, hey, Brian, this sounds great, but I on my site right now, I already do like SEO consulting and web development and whatever PHP development. They have all these call to actions for all these services. Is it important for these folks to focus on just building out a landing page specifically for their new product or their new value proposition?
It's hard to say. I mean, I wouldn't want to just generalize everyone. I think every situation is a little bit different. I was talking to a friend the other day, and his kind of design and marketing agency basically offers two main services. Like one is kind of helping you with your site, and the other one is kind of a back office software, to manage a business from like internally. Mm-hmm. So he was asking me for feedback on his homepage design about how to separate these two main services that he offers, and basically like he has two big call to actions, equally visible, equally prominent right there on the homepage. I mean, that's pretty good. But what we talked about was how he could lead those into like you said, I mean, landing pages or just kind of services pages talking about what those different options are. But then there can also be channels that lead groups of visitors to his site. So separately, he might have a landing page or some kind of educational course or something specifically about that internal service that he provides.
Right.
So they might hit that first before they ever even see the homepage. So different visitors kind of take different paths into your world that you're creating here. So there are many kind of paths and channels that you can optimize in different ways.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, awesome advice. I appreciate you taking the time to explain sort of what's been going on in your world, launching a book and all the fun and pain that goes along with it. But it sounds more fun than painful. I'm just thinking in my head, man, if I were to start writing a book, I don't even know where to begin. But you got some good foundation here, so definitely going to use that. It
was a lot of work, though. I mean, there were definitely days where I was just like, I know I need to write today, and I'm just not in the mood, but I just kind of pushed through it.
Yeah. So. We got a little offering, a little special for the listeners to grab access to your book.
Yeah, absolutely. So for you Matt Report listeners out there, you can get 20% off of any package for the book. And this is going to be good for 1 week from the day that this episode goes live. So we'll work that out, Matt. Yep. So to get that, you can go to the URL for that would be castjam.com. That's my site, castjam.com/Matt Report, all one word, all lowercase. And that'll take you to the page where you can get that discounted price.
Beautiful, and we'll have that in the notes. We'll have that in the blog post. I'll put it in my email, put it on my Twitter feed, tattoo it to my forehead so that everybody can see it, so they can get access to this, because I think a lot of folks listening are going to get a lot of great advice and some actionable stuff out of your book. Well, Brian, I think that's it for me. It's kind of weird ending the show without a typical lightning round, but we've already done that. And everybody listening can go back and see the lightning round with Brian in his original episode. So, Brian, thank you for taking the time and doing the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me on again, Matt. Great job with everything that you've done here on Matt Report, and it's all awesome stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And one last time, where can folks find you on the web to say thanks?
Yeah, so mostly I'm on Twitter at CastJam. My site is castjam.com, and you can send me an email anytime, brian@castjam.com.
Awesome, Brian. Talk to you next time.
Okay. All right. See you, Matt.